Yo, what's good, YouTube? So I'm back with another video basically explaining to you why you're not a pro yet. So today we're going to be watching Volks, who is a top tier EU player, and he happened to place first in the duo Cash Cup semifinals. So we're just going to be breaking down what he does right and also explaining why you're not at his level yet. So if you liked the video, make sure to subscribe, all that, and let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is not actually inside of Fortnite. It's what you do outside of it. So your sleep schedule, your diet, if you work out, and the peripherals you have. So for your sleep schedule, as long as you're sleeping at a certain time and waking up at a certain time and it's consistent, that's all you need. It doesn't matter if you're going to sleep at 4 a.m. and waking up at 12. As long as you're on that strict, or not strict, as long as you're going to sleep and waking up at the same time, you'll feel energized and rejoice the next day, which is all you need, because anything outside of the game is just going to help you play to your fullest potential inside of the game. So next, we can also talk about diets. If you're feeling well, you're going to be playing well. So this means stop eating a fuck ton of hot Cheetos. You know, even go work out. If you work out, it's going to help you as well because you'll be feeling better. So those are 3 things like outside of the game you can improve to help reach your full potential in game. Inside of the game, you'll end up raising your full potential. So you can also get better peripherals. If you're running on 60 frames in game, that's really holding you back, and you're not really going to be able to compete in the high tier end games where there's like 50 people left in moving zones. So you're going to need to get better peripherals. This includes a PC, monitor, keyboard, mouse, controller, and so on. So that's everything outside of the game. Now we're going to move on to stuff like inside of the game, like how you're playing, what you're doing wrong, and what you need to be doing. So let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is how Volks is so consistent and he lives off spawn almost every single time. So what he does is he lands at the very top of the mountain at Shifty Shafts, and he typically gets an AR, and he gets beams at people either going to the mansion or Sleepy Sound. Also, his teammate glides around to make sure nobody else is coming to Shifty and to see where other people are going. After this, he typically lands at the very bottom of the shafts, and then he loots like the whole bottom area, and Volks loots the top area. So it's super efficient, it's quick, and it's safe, because if somebody were to be contesting Volks and he has a better drop, Volks can simply just fly off to the side and go land with his teammate, or his teammate can do the same. He can veer off and land at the bottom of the mountain to help out Volks if Volks contest. So it's overall really safe and simple, and they live most of the time off spawn. This can work for literally anybody or almost any place. So the Jonesies has the tower there. Somebody can land at the tower, potentially get an AR and get an early beam on somebody landing. You can do the same thing with Rocky Rills. There's a caravan at the top of the mountain. You can end up getting the caravan and beaming people going into Rocky Rills. So overall, you just want to make sure you're living off early game, because if you're consistently living off early game, as long as you're not throwing your mid games and your late games, you should be getting consistent points every single game. And the only thing you really need to place good is consistency. So let's go to the mid game. So in mid game, you want to make sure you're getting as much loot as safely as possible. So this does include like third parties. If you can get a safe third party and end up getting the loot, that's perfect. But Volks and his teammate, every single end game, they always have a fuck ton of loot to basically supply them for the rest of the game. As you can see here, Volks has 2 launch pad and his teammate actually has 3. So this is a total of 5 launch pads, and they actually already used one, but they have plenty of launch pads to rotate. They have 6 chug splashes. They both have max mats. And they have gold and purple weapons. So this is exactly how you want to be going into the late game. Now, as long as they don't throw and they just play consistently, they'll be completely fine. And that's exactly what they do. They have good chemistry, so they manage to stay together even after they're about 5 launch pads. They're on the same wavelength, so whenever one of them wants to launch pad, the other one would know. Like right here, they both know that they're about to launch pad out the side of this. And this is before any comms were made. So you always want to be good with your duo. Make sure you understand what play to make in that certain area. This launchpad could have been a lot better, but at the end of the day, they still end up surviving. They get right with each other, and they have those 6 chug splashes, all those mats, and the extra launch pads to where it doesn't really matter. This is kind of towards the late game at this point, but again, if you're mid game, you want to make sure you're getting loot and you're not getting into any like build fights or anything unless you know for a fact it's safe. So you can be in the end game like this. And we're just going to move straight into the end game. So in the end game, you always want to make sure you're sticking with your teammate. And whenever you're with your teammate, you're not only with him, but you're on the same wavelength. If he's going to tarp, you should know that. You should follow him. And you need to be shooting the same things, taking the same things. And basically, making sure you live, because placement is more important than the few kills you're going to get or the kill you're going to get by suiciding. So as you can see here, they're sticking with each other. Anytime they decide to fight somebody, they're both with each other with the SMG. So again, it's all about consistency. It's about sticking with your duo, and they have really good chemistry. So as you can see here, he gets this beam. You can't hear it, but right now he's yelling, "Get to me, this dude's one shot." He ends up getting the kill, but it's all about the chemistry. It's all about the chemistry. And what they typically like doing is they'll play low to mid ground until the very end of the late game. So as you can see, they're just safely rotating around. And right here, they actually are, the Volks already knows his teammate has medkits, so they box up right here, and then they end up using their medkits to get up like 150 HP total. So after this, they're completely chilling. They end up going into zone, and since they still have another launch pad, they decide to use it to basically go for a play that would either win them the game or like kind of fuck up their game. So after they start beaming these people, you know, they're right next to each other. They know what's happening. Ask them to edit out behind him. You're about to see he's about to place a launch pad, and they're going to go to hide. And right when they place the launch pad, they're always looking to see if height is obtainable, because they play through height. At the 3 end games they won in this video, they had height every single time, and they take height typically towards the end of moving zones. So I'm pretty sure they're about to launch pad right here or build up. Yeah, they don't actually launch pad. These are the people on height. They end up running out of mats because they got high ground so early. So you don't want to get high ground too early to where you're just wasting your mats trying to obtain it, or trying to keep it. So they end up healing up, and then they realize they have height. From here, they just make sure they keep height. They have the mats too. They typically have one person higher up than the other if they get it earlier on. But later on, they just try and stay low and get the kills while they can. So as you can see, they're healing up. And then right now, they're going to shoot the tree to open up vision. Because at this point, you're just applying pressure, because this late in the game, there aren't many mats left. These people down here have a max of like 200 mats. And when you whittle those away, there's nothing left for them. Especially if it goes up and down mountains, you want to make sure you're really pressuring the builds. And right here, they actually see this car that they can potentially damage and blow up. Except they find it really risky. So they kind of wait to blow it up until they're in like a better position. And they end up blowing it up. And it gets him a kill. It opens up the dude healing in zone, trying to do a heal off. And it guarantees them the win. So overall, you want to make sure you're looted up perfectly for the late game. Again, you can see in this game, they have hella heals. They have Spider-Mans. They have, I think, 4 launch pads. And they have golden SMGs with max mats. Again, if you're getting into late game with good loot, you just got to play consistently and not throw. So with this game, they also just play safe, and they use a lot of launch pads. So you're about to see right here that they end up launch padding, and it doesn't go too well because there was a tarp above them, and it does fuck them over. But through their composure and how many heals they have, they can just easily make it through. So what they do like doing is, because they have so many launch pads, they play back in storm. So they'll just stay right here. They'll heal up to max, and then they'll hit a nice launch pad pretty soon inside of zone, because again, they have so many launch pads, they can just throw them away. And again, every time they launch pad, they're always going to be looking for height. But again, the main things to take note here is they're always taking height towards the later moving zones. On top of that, they're also like very good with staying together. You're not going to see a point in the end game where they're not together, or at least they don't know where each other are. So if they do split up, it's all calculated and planned. So one will either drop down to get better angles, because what height typically does is there's typically one person below like 2 layers, and then one person on ultimate height, just to make sure they don't lose it. And that's kind of what's happening right here. Volks is 2 up, but then he goes down after they end up taking out the alien. But yeah, you just got to be consistent, you know, play well, play height late game, because with height, again, you can apply so much pressure in this chapter with the SMGs that it's a lot better than in other games. And even though there's a lot of Spider-Mans and whatnot, Spider-Mans aren't officially or like too good for taking height, because first of all, you hear them coming. At best, you can make it on the same level the way they work, because you would launch around and then jump off and like fly next to somebody. There's typically builds blocking them though. Launch pads also, if you're this high, launch pads aren't even going to make it up to you. But yeah, at this point, I'm kind of just rambling, because it's pretty obvious what you need. You need good comms. You need a good duo who you synergize well with. You need to be taking height late into the moving zones. And you also got to be efficiently using the SMGs. And again, a lot of pros don't like this meta, but they're still adapting. They're still playing accordingly. So whenever you see people like Volks box up and whatnot, you'll see them double layer their boxes. They'll put a cone, a floor above them, then they'll put a cone and a floor below them, and they'll make sure they're building on a hard mats or they're ready to hold. So you always got to be making sure, like right here, they get a beam on him, and whenever it's about a few people left, they're always dropping down to make sure they can get these kills, because people aren't going to be fighting for height this late in the game, right? It is final 4 people. They don't have the mats to really fight for height, and they're not looking forward to it. They're all pretty weak, as you can see right there. That dude was like 60 HP. But yeah, at this point, it's literally just free kills. It's just if you manage to get them before the other people. So they play a lot more aggressive right here. You'll see they end up dropping down. And yeah, again, play height for late. Listen to your teammate. Get good loot mid game. Make sure you're getting launch pads and you're getting a lot of loot.